Homeschooling has definitely changed me, in some ways for the better and in some ways for worse. Stick around and you'll hear all about it. Hi everybody, welcome back to Project Happy Home. For those of you who don't know, I'm Tanya, an MD JD turned stay-at-home mom of 3 children ages 7, 4, and 2, the eldest of whom has ADHD. When Saida of the Precious Years approached us with this collaboration idea, I admit my initial reaction was hesitance. Although homeschooling has definitely changed me in ways that I have acknowledged and talked about with my husband, I was hesitant to explore it on this forum. But I think it's really useful to talk about both the good and the bad aspects of homeschooling. I would say that homeschooling has cracked me open. I think that you assume a lot of things about yourself as a parent and as a woman and as a wife before you are confronted with being with your children all day long and also taking responsibility for their education. Before I had children, I definitely thought of myself as an incredibly even-keeled person. And I thought that when I had children, I would go about it in a relatively Mary Poppins-like fashion. Unfortunately, sometimes Miss Hannigan from Annie comes out. There was an internet meme a while ago where it said something like, it had the picture of Mary Poppins on the top and it was like, this is the mom I thought I would be. And then it has Miss Hannigan at the bottom. It's like, this is who I actually am. And I think I definitely exhibit both character personas at different times during the day. I think being with your children from the moment they wake up to the moment they go to bed is a huge blessing, but I also think it reveals a lot of character flaws in yourself and a lot of opportunities for growth. Homeschooling has broken me open. Being with my children and trying to be even-keeled and patient and giving and good is exhausting. It can be remarkably exhausting not to have a little time in the day to yourself to just decompress. I've become a little bit better this year at taking some self-care time, especially at night, while my husband takes over the nighttime duties, and that helps a great deal to kind of restore myself and prepare myself for the next day. Just to get back on track, though, I think that homeschooling has definitely changed me for the better, because I think acknowledging your character flaws is the first step on improving them. I have learned that I will ask them to be patient and kind with one another and then almost immediately not be that way with them. I have learned that I will ask them to be content with what they have during the day or with what our plans are or with how our plans have changed because of the weather or because of some unforeseen event, and then I myself will be discontent about that or frustrated. I have learned that I try to teach them to manage their frustration in a appropriate and kind way without taking it out on others, and then I will turn around and take my frustrations out on them when they don't satisfy some demand that I've made or some request that I've made. I have learned that I ask them to do quiet time quietly and by themselves, and I myself will run around busily, not taking quiet time for myself during that time. I've learned that many of the character aspirations that I have for them, I myself am lacking in. And it's a real education for a mom to homeschool her children, because while I have found some of the aspects of homeschooling relatively enjoyable and even easy, like choosing curriculums and planning out our schedule and doing fun science activities, some of the harder things about homeschooling is just being there, sitting next to them. Both of my children are quite at the elbow stage, as Susan Weisbauer would say, and it takes a lot of effort to stay in the present moment with them and to focus and concentrate, which is another thing that I always ask them to do, is to focus on the task at hand and concentrate. One of the things I've done to make that easier on myself is I simply don't bring my smartphone upstairs with me into the homeschooling room at all when we homeschool, and that keeps me fairly distraction-free. I think that homeschooling is an excellent parenting tool. And by that, I mean not in changing your children's behavior, but in changing your own. For as much as I might meet my husband with stories of how the children were frustrating, at least twice as much I meet him with stories of how I was frustrating and frustrated and did not act up to my own ideals. I think homeschooling presents a mirror to a parent to see who you really are. Who are you really when you cannot hide it from anyone or take a little break to kind of put your game face back on? How well do you keep your best self forward the whole time? And how close is your true self to your best self? And I think on this homeschooling journey, it is my challenge and my privilege to try to unite those two selves. The self I want to be all the time and the self I actually am much of the time. So the closer I can get my actual working self to my ideal self, the better example I think I will set for my children, and the better I will be as a person in all facets of my life. I definitely think homeschooling is changing me for the better. Every day there are great moments, and every day there are some really unfortunate ones, both on my children's part and my own. I will give myself some kudos to say that I'm very quick to apologize. And I want my kids to learn that we will all mess up, that's part of being human. Perfection is not the goal, but it is certainly something to keep in our view. And I hope to grow in patience because I think I have an abundant amount of love for my children and I think they know it. But I think I have a far way to go and an abundant room to grow in patience with my children and in self-management as well. I should be able to control myself before I take fault with my children for being unable to control themselves. I really appreciate the mirror that homeschooling has presented for me as a tool for self-awareness and change. I hope as you guys go through your homeschooling days and you act in ways that you are less than proud of, that you give yourself a moment of grace and say, I messed up there, and acknowledge that with your children and talk about how you could have handled it better and try to do that the next time. I think that is the best thing we can show for our children, that growth mindset that, the person I was in that moment is not the person I am and certainly not the person I want to be. And I'm going to try my very best to be that person more often. So good luck to all of you guys in your homeschooling journey. I know I am learning so many things about myself and my children every day, and I treasure this time with them. It is beyond a gift to have all of these little moments where I see their personalities emerge and develop. All the little moments where they hold hands unexpectedly, or they help one another, or they help me. There are lovely, lovely moments in between all the little moments of chaos. Congratulations to all of us again on being on this journey, and I hope that you guys all have a wonderful homeschooling week ahead of you. As always, thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Please don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe.